Hi, Steve here. I just want to say thank you to all of you who were praying for us, my supporters. I just want to say that Gene and I appreciate you so very much. I can't begin to tell you how much we appreciate your prayers especially. And thank you for those who continue to support us. I'm thinking about it. I don't even want to go into all the details of what we went through. And for that matter, I don't want to belittle what everybody in Southwest Florida has gone through. There have been people who have drowned. These kind of storms, like the one we experienced where we live, they come and they are way more furious, way more deadly, and way more frightening than anything most people will ever experience in their entire lives. And I'm glad for that. I would not wish this on anyone. There are many people who've lost it all. They've lost everything. Absolutely everything. Not everybody who lived near the water is going to be able to replace their things. They'll never be able to rebuild. So the people with money, they'll be the ones that come in and basically rebuild because they've got the money to do it. But all the rebuilding and many of the repairs will take months and months. I just want to say this about our electric workers, the linemen that have come down. We have them coming from all directions. They're coming from Miami. They're coming from as far away as Indiana that I know of. And many people from Mississippi, probably Georgia, I don't even know. And I'm not trying to keep up on the threads at all. I'm not trying to keep up with everything on Facebook or Twitter. My wife's doing that, but I'm not because I just don't want to take the time to do it. We're trying to keep up with it just enough to find out what progress is being made in our area, because I know that all these linemen and all these workers, all these firefighters, police, EMT, these guys are working round the clock. I've seen posts about firefighters that are on 24/7. You can't make a human being work that kind of a schedule very long before something bad happens. So pray for all of these emergency workers here in Southwest Florida. We came over to the East Coast, so Gene and I are not over in the hurricane zone we left. We left after riding the storm out, and when I say riding it out, by God's grace, we survived. We had what were 144 mile per hour winds. We had projectiles flying all of the fences in all of the yards behind us. 1, 2, 3, 4, as far as I could see behind us, 4 yards right behind us, all destroyed, all taken down. Fortunately, most of the people in our area had shingles ripped off, but nobody lost their roof. Mobile homes in certain areas, I watched in horror as the roofs just lifted right off. What are you going to do? You just pray to survive. So, we've been through hurricanes before. I got a confession to make. So if you want to say, Steve, that may be the dumbest thing you ever didn't do, I would agree with you. I wouldn't argue that. I wouldn't. I won't even try to defend the stupidity that I exhibited. We have a slider in the back of our house, sliding glass door, just opens one way. And we went through Hurricane Charlie. Well, when we went through that, it was bad. We didn't lose our roof. We did lose shingles, but we didn't lose our roof. And we looked out the back slider, and we could see these Australian pines just hanging over like this, kept bowing over just like this. And we just watched them almost touch the ground. So I thought, well, it'll be like Hurricane Charlie. Now remember, first of all, we weren't even supposed to get a hurricane. It was going to Tampa, right? Let me tell you something. Don't ever, if you live in Florida, don't ever, or for that matter, if you live on the Gulf Coast or anywhere, in any of these areas, don't ever, write this down. This is my quote for you to remember and never forget. Don't ever believe the media or the forecasts. Don't ever believe the forecasts that the weather guys are giving you as far as where it's going to go. Because it probably won't go anywhere where they said. Until it's right on you and it's too late to leave or to do any other preparations. Don't forget I said that. Because I'm heeding this advice myself now. So, all the shutters were up. We were totally ready as far as the shutters. But the winds, this 144 mile an hour winds, they came at us from the southeast and then the south. And I literally, along with my wife and my cousin's wife, who's a widow, literally stood against the glass of the window with our hands, and I pushed with all I had for at least 2 hours. It was probably more than 2 hours, with two women, my little wife and my frail, widowed cousin's wife, pushing with all we had because we could feel the glass coming in. We could feel it pushing in and pushing against the glass. And I knew that if I didn't stand there and try to fight it and try to push against it, we would probably have the glass break in and blow in. Then we would have a real problem then. Because once the hurricane got in, once those 140-some mile per hour winds got in there, it would be just a matter of a few minutes, maybe seconds, before everything blew out. So we stood there. And I can tell you this, and I'm telling you the truth. I've never been so exhausted in my life as I was when trying to push this back, trying to hold this glass from being pushed out on the other side. And I can tell you this, only the grace of God held it together, held me together, held my wife and my cousin's wife together. Only God's grace held us together. And I'm not saying that to try and be dramatic. I'm telling you the truth. This is the truth. Only by God's grace. So we stayed there for 3 days after the hurricane. No water, no electricity, of course. Slept in the heat. It only got too cool the first night. It was finally cooled off, so when we woke up in the morning, the last 2 mornings after the hurricane went through, it wasn't too bad. But I can tell you this. We couldn't get any showers, no water at all. We had drinking water. We had some water outside that we were able to flush our toilets with, and that was a blessing in itself, because it gets it's so hard to breathe. I won't go into that. It was nasty. So I just wanted to give this update. This is probably dragging on. I don't need anybody to watch a long video on this. You can see by some of the pictures on the news. Of course, nobody except those who've gone through it, just like Katrina, just like Charlie, just like Andrew from years ago. We went through that too. We were on this coast, as a matter of fact, when Andrew came through. We were living far north of Homestead, thank God. So we've been through the hurricanes. So we are considering this may be the time to make other plans to finish out our lives somewhere else. Now, I'm going to include a video from Dane Wigington from Geoengineering Watch, because I know, and for anybody watching this video, they won't agree with what he says in the video, but I agree with him. So you can take it or you can leave it. But I know what they're doing, and I know the technology they have. And I know that most people want to call this an act of God. This is no act of God, what happened. But I'm going to leave it there. And I'm going to end this video by saying once again, I can't even begin to tell you how much I appreciate all of you. Your love and prayers has meant everything to Gene and I, and I just want to say that it may be a long time. I don't know how long it'll be before we ever have internet service once we go back. We'll be here for another couple of days probably. We're going to just continue to pray for our line workers and all of the people that are working so hard to try and put our area back together and at least get us to where we can live, we can exist again. And maybe when I get over there, if I'm able to have internet again, I will do some reports, maybe go out on the street. I don't even want to talk to my fellow residents of Lee County right now, because I know a lot of us are still shell-shocked. We know what the vets come through by experiencing what they do. Well, these hurricanes can create that kind of sense of shell shock too. So pray for the families of people who've lost their loved ones. Pray for the families, especially the elderly, who have nowhere to go. They have no means, they have nothing, and they have nowhere to go. Please pray for these people. They need our prayers. I want to say thank you again to all of you. We appreciate your love and prayers. And I'll end this video right now and say thank you again. Thank you again. If you live in a place where all your basic necessities are taken care of and you're doing wonderful, thank God for it. Thank God for it. If you're able to help in any way, help the people in Southwest Florida. If I have people that are willing to maybe send a donation, I want you to note that in the message, and I will make sure that it gets into the hands of people on the street that need it. I will actually look, once we can get out and go on the streets, I will get out and I will look for people in need. So if you want to send something, and just mark it in the donation box. You can go to the donation box on our website, thinkaboutit.news or thinkaboutit.online. And like I said, make a notation. You want this to go to the people who need it most in Southwest Florida. I'm not going to start a GoFundMe or any nonsense like that, but if you want to do something, you can send it through our donor box on the website or on the links below the videos, and basically just make a notation. I want to send this. I want to make sure, Steve, you get this to people who need it the most, and I promise you that's what I'll do. I'm going to sign off for now. Thank you so much. God bless you, and thank you. We love you. Bye.
Is our weather and our climate being manipulated? Examine the data in this short report. Decide for yourself. Frequency transmission manipulation of hurricanes are patented processes. The technology is not new. The list of weather modification patents numbers into the hundreds and continues to grow. This is Hurricane Ian, passing near the NexRad transmission facility in Key West, Florida. When the transmission facilities are fully energized, they have a repelling effect on any air mass that has been saturated with electrically conductive climate engineering elements. Patents call for such seeding into storms to be carried out from above by jet aircraft. The NexRad transmission network then interacts with the storm air mass, determining where a storm will migrate and where it won't. As Hurricane Ian is allowed to make landfall, the frequency transmission facility in Melbourne, Florida, is fully engaged. This effectively slows Ian's migration inland. The transmissions can diminish precipitation in some regions while augmenting it in others.
It lays the predicate and the foundation for the development of a weather satellite that will permit man to determine the world's cloud layer and ultimately to control the weather, and he who controls the weather will control the world.
Weather modification, climate engineering patent holders like Raytheon and Lockheed Martin do all the weather modeling for the nation's weather forecasting personnel, the National Weather Service and the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration. Both agencies have an illegal federal gag order on their personnel. The scheduled weather forecasting scripts are then passed all the way down to the local meteorologist level. The official narrative must be controlled. All must follow the same script. Is it any wonder that the script readers miraculously know up to a week in advance that a storm like Ian, which was completely unorganized, a mass of convection migrating across the Atlantic, would end up where it did? The same with Hurricane Harvey, Sandy, and so many others. The U.S. military first officially deployed hurricane manipulation operations 75 years ago, Project Cirrus. Disastrous results were reported. In 1962, Project Storm Fury surfaced as a continuation of the U.S. military's hurricane manipulation efforts. During the 1960s, the U.S. military continued to expand its weather warfare efforts and knowledge in Vietnam with Project Popeye, a historical fact of record. So the bottom line question is this: is hurricane manipulation real and ongoing, while illegal gag orders and paid-off politicians are utilized to keep climate intervention operations out of public consciousness? Connect the dots and decide for yourself. Share credible data from a credible source. Make every day count. Time is not on our side. This is Dane Wigington from geoengineeringwatch.org.